Hello, everyone. The Senate will now come to order. Before we get into the agenda, I'm going to review the protocol for making motions and voting on Zoom. So just as a reminder, you click to open the participants window, and if you want to raise your hands for any questions or comments or motions, just click the raise hand button. And for voting, as you can see, in favor would be yes, opposed is no, and abstaining would be go slower. But I urge you to vote on everything instead of abstaining. And reminder that the private messages are made public in the transcript. So don't say and don't send anything you wouldn't want anyone else seeing. And then to the members of the public that are in the room, just a reminder for you to not vote. Even if you did, it would not be counted. And the expectation is that the camera is on and the mics are off. As for voting, if you could just, when you vote and then after the motion either passes or is tabled, you can remove your vote, but only after I say the motion's decision, if it passes or if it fails, and I'll remind you to remove your votes as well. So this is the agenda for today, and I'm going to start off with a land acknowledgement. This is a quote from Dr. Mark Rose. As we gather for this meeting, physically dispersed and virtually constructed, let us take a moment to reflect the meaning of place, and doing so recognize the various traditional lands on which we do our business today. Since today's Senate meeting is being held online, a singular land acknowledgement won't capture the richness of our distribution across many locations in the US and around the world. And as ASG is a body under the University of San Diego, I would like to share the land acknowledgement that is used at USD. And I also invite today's participants to consider their own position with regard to the land where they find themselves. I want to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is traditional and unceded territory of the Kumeyaw Nation. I want to pay respect to the citizens of the Kumeyaw Nation, both past and present, and their continuing relationship to their ancestral lands. I would also like to take this moment to acknowledge the pain that many members of the Black community feel today with the recent announcement that Breonna Taylor will not receive justice. The nature of the system we live in requires us to continue business as usual while further traumatizing Black folks. And I want senators to keep this in mind as we discuss students and faculty's letters and demands later today. Are there any motions on the floor for the approval of the agenda? Ezra?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve today's agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please put your votes in the participants window. As a reminder, everyone does need to vote. So according to my records, Ari still needs to vote. Thank you. Motion passes. The agenda is approved. To the senators, could you please, I know that some people showed up a little bit later after this announcement, but could you please add senator in your display name so it just makes counting the votes a lot easier? Thank you. You can remove your votes as well. Oh my gosh. All right, I just realized that I forgot to take roll, so Ari will be taking roll right now.
Okay, sorry, my computer is acting funny because of my Wi-Fi, so I'm just gonna write everyone's name down in my book. Okay, so the first one is AJ. I'm Armenta. I apologize if I butcher your name. Please feel free to correct me.
Here. I apologize if this is, oh, okay.
Okay, awesome. Here, check. Alana de la Torre.
Here.
Awesome. Okay. Oh, okay. Alana. Blenman. Oh, okay.
Here.
Okay. Alexa, and then Andrade. I apologize.
You can say Andrade if it's easier.
Do I say yeah? Okay, Andrade. Got it. Angelo Tharp.
Here.
Awesome. Okay, and then I'm here. Ari. Benjamin. Debut. Sorry.
Here, just Ben Tebow.
Okay, Ben Tebow. Got it. I'll add that in here. Okay, Brooke Powell.
Here.
Oh wow, there was like 5 of you, Brooke. Yeah, there's like 5 of you. I was like, oh wow. Okay, Catalina, Carvala.
Es Catalina Carvajal. The J is it's like an H.
Okay. Cool. It's been a while since I practiced Spanish. Okay, Chidi or Okaru?
Here.
Okay, awesome. Cool. Okay. Ezra Wheeler?
Here.
Awesome. Okay. Elena Cruz?
Here.
Awesome. Okay. Francie Bias?
Fantasy bias, thank you, here.
Awesome, Fantasy. Thank you. Harrison Tarbox?
Here.
Okay. Awesome. J Johnson. Jay Johnson.
Here.
Okay, awesome. Okay, we have Lauren Fetis. Fetis.
Pettis.
Fetis. Okay. Awesome. Madeline Wu.
Madeline Wu here.
Okay, awesome. Max Donahue. Yeah.
It's Donahoe, and I'm here. I'll have a proxy for 30 minutes from 12:30 to 1, and then I'll be back in the meeting. And the
Okay.
proxy is here right now. It's Marcel Fontillas Rock.
Marcel Taz Rock. Okay. So there will be a proxy. Awesome. Meg McWilliams.
Here.
Awesome. Thank you. Mia Soto.
I'm here.
Awesome. Okay. Sabrina Mendez Wintier.
Mendoza. We're here.
Okay, awesome. Mendez. Okay, and then Sean Keeney.
I'm here in Kenny.
Kenny. Okay, got it. Thank you. Tina Fee.
Tiana and
Fee? Yeah. Okay, awesome. All right, everyone's here, and then the proxy is from 12:30 to 1. Cool. Okay, awesome. Yeah.
Thank you, Ari. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from last week. Are there any motions on the floor? Angelo?
I motion to approve the minutes from last week.
Second.
Second.
As a reminder, we use I verbs for motion, so it would be I move.
My apologies.
No problem. So there is a motion on the floor, having been seconded, to approve the minutes from September 17th. Is there any further discussion? Please cast your votes. Motion passes. Minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is the swearing in of newly elected and appointed senators because some of them couldn't make it last week. So Harrison and AJ will be sworn in. The members of the Associate Student Government of the University of San Diego shall adhere to the highest ethical standards. They shall exercise judgments which are fair, consistent, and equitable. They shall do everything they can to strive for excellence in their goals, adhere to the Constitution and bylaws of the Associated Student Government, and work to achieve the mission of the University of San Diego. So Harrison and AJ, after each of the following questions, please respond, I will. So you can unmute yourselves if you like. Will you demonstrate loyalty to the mission and goals of the University of San Diego? Please respond, I will.
I will.
Will you act within the Associate Student Government's Constitution and bylaws?
I will.
I will.
Will you be fair and just in the treatment of all, addressing issues and people without prejudice, and maintaining a positive working and learning environment?
I will.
Will you honor agreements and preserve confidentiality?
I will.
Will you be honest in and accountable for your actions and statements?
I will.
Will you demonstrate personal and professional integrity in all matters and respect ASG leaders, administrators, faculty, staff, and students?
I will.
Will you provide leadership in all of your assigned duties?
I will.
ASG leaders, please join me in saying the oath of office. So you two will just repeat after me. We will be part of a team
We will be part of a team
which seeks student needs
which seeks student needs
to extend opportunities to all students
to extend opportunities to all students
and to enhance the quality of education
and to enhance the quality of education
students are offered at USD.
students are offered at USD.
We will work with fellow members of the Associated Student Government
We will work with fellow members of the Associated Student Government
in a spirit of harmony and cooperation.
In a spirit
in a spirit of harmony and cooperation.
To the best of our ability, we will represent and serve
To the best of our ability, we will represent and serve
the Associated Student Body of the University of San Diego
the student
body of the University of
San Diego. Sorry.
in all aspects of this life.
In all aspects of this life.
Great, so you're officially sworn in. Everyone welcome me in join me in welcoming our newest senators. Congrats, Harrison and AJ. Next on the agenda is the confirmation of Senate committee chairs and lead team. So these will be our year's committee chairs, coordinators, and Senate lead team. To confirm them, there must be a vote. So are there any motions on the floor?
I move to confirm the Senate committee chairs and lead team.
I second that motion.
As a reminder, you have to be addressed to make a motion. But there's a motion on the floor, having been seconded to confirm the Senate committee chair team. Is there any further discussion? You may cast your votes. Oh, you're good, Sean. Don't worry about it. Ari, can you please cast your vote? Thank you. Motion passes. Chairs and lead team have been confirmed. Congrats, everybody. Next on the agenda is a report from me. So I'm going to try to talk relatively fast, but feel free to ask questions. So as for attendance policy, I just want to remind senators that you need to notify me of your absence and who your proxy will be no later than 24 hours before the meeting. And I will then determine the validity of any proxy request within that 24-hour window. Senators are allowed a maximum of 3 proxies per semester. Any senator who's requesting an absence beyond the 3 proxies will be subject to an excused or unexcused absence, which I will determine as well. So you might have also noticed that in the Excel sheet with the committee assignments that advisors were also assigned. And as a reminder, advisor meetings are bi-weekly, and those meetings are set to start within the next 2 weeks, and your advisor will be in touch with you very soon. I will be making an effort to attend each committee once a month, just sitting in so I can be up to date on all the work everyone's doing, as well as making myself available as a resource if anyone has questions about making an initiative or program. So once the chairs set dates for committee meetings, the chairs and I will be in touch about logistics. And if you would like to meet with me one-on-one, you can just send me an email and we can make that happen. And then speaking more on logistics, please update your Google Calendar as soon as possible after today's meeting, and also change your viewing settings to public. And this will make finding time for committee meetings and advisor meetings and everything else ASU related much more efficient. Because when the advisors and chairs see a free block of time, they'll set a meeting for then. So it just serves in everyone's best interest if your GCal is consistently updated. I also know that some people were a little confused between the difference between chairs and coordinators. So essentially the main difference between the two is that chairs are in charge of a team which consists of other senators in the committee, and the chairs also attend finance committee. And then coordinators, which head the subcommittees under the student life committee, head initiatives that are related to their specific subcommittee. And then coordinators are able to get interested senators who might not be on student life committee, and they can also get non-senator students initiatives and programs as well. This is a diagram trying to, so anyone needs help visualizing how the subcommittees and committee breakdown works. And there are also vacancies for Senate. So the Senate positions on the screen are currently vacant, meaning that I will be interviewing and appointing interested students. So I'm asking for everybody in the room to please reach out to their networks and let them know about these opportunities. And if you know anyone who's interested, tell them to send me an email and I will put that in the chat. But that's it for me for report from the speakers. So now we'll be moving on to reports from committee chairs. I don't expect any committee chair to have an update to report, but I wanted to give the chairs and coordinators experience with going through and saying that you will be having an update or not. So I'll just go in order of the slides. So AJ, do you have any updates?
I do not have any updates for this Senate meeting.
Ezra, do you have any updates for IDE committee?
No updates except that not everyone has responded to the doodle poll to schedule our weekly meeting. So please go ahead and do that as soon as possible.
Alana, do you have any updates for student orgs committee?
No updates for student org right now.
Thank you. Ben, do you have any updates for student life?
We have no updates for student life.
Lauren, do you have any updates on the athletic subcommittee?
No updates on the athletic subcommittee.
Catalina, do you have any updates for health and wellness?
You know, I think I do. One of the updates is I'll be talking about later today, is trying to get started in like civic engagement type of committee. I think that qualifies as student wellness, so that's my update.
Great. Madeline, do you have any updates for sustainability?
No updates for sustainability.
Great. Thank you all. So we can move on to reports from exec. we can go in order. I don't think Joey is here, but Isaiah, do you have any updates for Joey?
I don't have any updates for Joey. He didn't send me anything. So what's up there is, I guess, what he wanted me to mention.
Okay, so Justin, would you like to go?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So just some reports from University Senate. The first thing that was discussed was the spring semester and if we're going to start. So this is a quote from Provost Baker. No information is present at the moment. The committees have been focused on the fall reopening. We will have to start talking about spring as soon as humanly possible. So for the fall reopening, there's been a bunch of committees hard at work, whether it's handling COVID capacities or adjusting one stop or HVAC. But in summary, they're doing the best as they can with the fall, and this has taken precedence before any discussions of the spring semester has been completed. Moving on down to Dr. Harris announcements. The student census, which usually takes place a week after the first day of school, was postponed to take place a month after the first day of school. So that was last Tuesday. For the most part, both undergraduate and graduate level students have decided to stay at USD holistically. This is the most significant budget crisis in university history. So this is going to carry over the next 4 years. There will be COVID-19 protocol enforcement for all of you that are on campus. They will be implementing what's called ambassadors who will go around campus and enforce the COVID-19 policies. They'll carry extra face masks on them, et cetera, et cetera. Student support services staff have developed methods for food delivery and laundry pickup for both on-campus housing and those in Pacific Ridge. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm going to send a link into the chat. That link is gonna be what's called the COVID-19 dashboard. It's something that was recently developed and it is up and running. It pretty much tracks cases for COVID-19 positive individuals at USD, and it was modeled after Villanova. So far, only 14 students living off campus and 1 faculty member have been identified as positive. Now rounding out, we have mandatory attendance concerns. So at the start of the semester, there are multiple cases of students who explained that their professors were mandating their classes to have required attendance. So this is obviously a concern because people are scattered in different time zones, they're international students, and some unavoidable conflicts like a second job or helping out the family. So Justice and I wrote to each of the deans from the School of Engineering, the college, and the School of Business, and the deans and provost all agree on 3 things. Classes should be asynchronous, attendance should not be mandatory, and there should be no penalties made on students if they can't make it. So if you experience any of those 3 or the opposite of those 3, please reach out and let me know what's up. And lastly, for me, the ASG textbook reserve is up and running as mentioned last week. So Catherine from Copley Library is here today, and we're working on donations for community partners for unused books or older editions. So that's a partnership with the Changemaker Hub and the Mulvaney Center. So I look forward to working with the academics chair on that. But that's all from me. Thank you.
Real quick question to Justin. Are labs included in that asynchronous learning?
I believe so, since some labs in Capstone have been functioning in person, but of course not everyone can make it. But thank you for bringing that up. I will double check to specify on that.
Thank you. Fantasy?
Hi, yeah, it's a question about Justin's piece. Can I say it right now? Okay, thank you, Justin, for presenting that to us. I had a specific question, I guess, on like the student ambassador. Is there a way we can find more information about that process? Like who they're choosing, are people applying? Like, are the ambassadors able to give out consequences or like, you know, citations? Like, I'm kind of, I guess, confused also if that's like completely different from the RA position that some folks got taken away from or weren't able to come back on campus due to. Yeah, if it's still in the works, I get that. But if there's more or like a place we can find more information on that student position, I'd love to have that.
May I answer, Madam Speaker?
You may.
Yes. Okay. That's a really good question, Fantasy. You're correct in multiple fronts. It is still a work in progress, so I cannot find a straight up document, but based off of what was told to us in the faculty, it is going to be composed of the work study students. So work study students being those who would typically work in Copley Library or for parking services. They're currently being implemented at the temperature taking stations. If anyone on campus has seen, there are some students that work there. So it would be from the same pool of work study students that would be helping out with parking services or with PSAFE. They would pretty much be those ambassadors. And as far as penalties, I don't think there'll be penalties. It'll just be one of those things where they go and be like, hey guys, like be socially distant, or if anyone doesn't have a face mask, they'd hand out face masks to them. So, but I will also double check on that too and hopefully send out something. Thank you.
Great. So hi everyone. I hope you had a great week so far. For my first update for today is later tonight at 5:30. TBV has partnered with ADA, like I mentioned last week, for our Visible and Hidden Disability Speaker Series. Super excited. I've included the registration link there. It would mean like a great deal to TPV and ADA and all of our speakers who are taking time out of their day to come and speak to us to talk about their experience and how they've come through so many adversities. So please register. It'd be great to have you all there tonight. And then just with the regular updates of what's upcoming, on October 6th, we are planning a Latinx panel with various individuals from the USD community. Next week, we will be distributing various information regarding voter registration, just kind of like basic information, like what positions are up for election this year, like how to know like how to vote and everything like that. And so that's coming up. And then homecoming weekends in a few weeks. I do want to make note that for voter registration, we did have a panel set for later on in October, considering there's a wide amount of like policies regarding like campaigning and well, like making sure to not bring someone who's campaigning onto campus, and that it was such short notice. We figured that it'd be in our best interest to focus on other efforts, and also considering that USD Votes is still doing a lot, and it's also in relation to what will be discussed later on today in Senate. So I will let that move forward. But yes, all in all, we'd be super grateful to have you at our speaking event tonight. And that's all my updates.
Thank you, Lupe. To the senators in the chat, I think to streamline everything, if you have any questions, please raise your hand and ask so there's not multiple going on at once. So just for future reference moving forward, please ask by raising your hands or give commentary by raising your hands. Thank you.
Can I do my updates now, or do we want them to raise their hand? Okay. So I don't have too many updates. I kind of alluded to this stuff last week, but the judicial branch worked on some extenuating circumstance clauses over the summer. So for those of you who don't know what that is, our first extenuating circumstance clause was in our finance committee bylaws, and it basically says that in the situation of or an instance of a pandemic or some type of major circumstance, you can make certain modifications to the bylaws, or exec can act as finance committee in that case. So we're going to do that we wrote some extenuating circumstance clauses for a few other of the major bylaws, so the Senate bylaws, the court bylaws, and a few other ones that we use routinely. So I will hopefully be presenting that to you next week, maybe 2 weeks from now at the latest. And then just for perspective for the future, so we've worked on the performance review bylaws. They're pretty much ready to be voted on. We're kind of just touching some things up, and I also don't want to give you too many things to vote on at the same time because you have to read through them, and they're a lot. So that will probably happen sometime after we approve or hopefully you approve the extenuating circumstance clauses. So within the next month. And then the judicial branch bylaws. So for those of you who don't know, the judicial branch is pretty much brand new. This is our first full official year existing. We came into existence, not kind of, last semester, last spring. And so from the time we convened as a group to now, we've been working on formulating our own set of bylaws. So they're all from scratch. They're not amended. So brand new, never seen before. You all are going to need to go through all that. And it's admittedly a lot. It's 15, 20 pages of bylaws. So I'm gonna need you all to like go through that with a fine tooth comb to make sure you all approve of it and everything. But that will be happening in, I don't know, maybe a month and a half or something like that. So I'll give you all plenty of time to go through them and everything, and I'll send them all out well beforehand, but just as a heads up. And then lastly, the Senate bylaws. I'm hoping we can work on those and get them amended and updated to the new constitution by the last Senate meeting of the semester, just to give us as much time as possible. Of course, because you're our Senate, I will be consulting all of you each step of the way, primarily probably Maya, but we'll reach out to you guys too, the rest of the senators. So yeah, that's just something to look forward to and what you'll have to prepare for in your future meetings. That's all for me.
Hi everyone, I don't have too many updates, but this coming Monday, the Core 1 reports and reallocations from senators and the executive team are due, which means I'll be checking those and preparing that information for the Finance Committee that will be meeting the first week of in October, I believe that October 7, and then the coming week I'll be presenting to you all the updates, the Core 1 reports as well, if there is any reallocations that you're probably going to vote on. And I still need 2 volunteers for ASGBC. So who wants to, volunteer for ASGBC? It's really urgent. So hopefully some people volunteer.
If you're interested, you can raise your hand. Thank you, Alana. Is there anyone else who's interested?
Madam Speaker, I have a question as well.
Yes.
What time are these? Oh my God, sorry. My video's literally covering that part of the sentence that says what time it is, so just kidding. Sorry.
Is anyone else interested?
I only need one more who is interested. Well, if someone else is interested, please let Maya know, and I'll reach out to Maya.
Okay, awesome. Happy Thursday, everyone. So just a few updates from me. I sent you all a Meet the Team form via email about like last week or 2 weeks ago. About half of you still have yet to complete that. So please, please, please complete that as soon as possible so we can get that content created and posted. And so secondly, I am implementing something new this year where we update the student body on what initiatives you all are working on within your committees or TPB events that are coming up. Just really an update to the student body on behalf of ASG and TPB. So every week a ASG TPB updates video will essentially go out via the Blue Buzz email, which is what you all receive from Lupe in your email inboxes every Monday. I will send out more information to the committee chairs that explains more of the logistics, like such as the timeline info and how to submit these clips, but just to the committee chairs, it's your responsibility to also let the senators within your committee know how they can help out with this. You can either decide if you want to delegate a task to one senator every week. That's amongst yourselves to decide, but essentially someone from the committee will record yourself for 45 seconds to a minute, giving that update, and then all of those clips will be compiled into one big video. Just so you know that this is very new, so please bear with us in this process, but I'm very hopeful that this will end up being a really great success, and it's honestly a really useful resource for you all to spread the word on what is happening and what your upcoming initiatives are. So keep that on your just on your radar. And so lastly, our marketing committee will begin soon. It's going to be bi-weekly, and essentially it's just kind of exploring ways to be creative with our outreach to students in the marketing world, I guess. If you're interested and you know you want to be a part of this right now, can you please raise your little hand? Okay, Tiana, I see you. Mia, Ari, Ezra. Is there anyone else? Okay, so I'll keep in contact with the 4 of you that have raised your hand so we can find a way, we can find a time to meet. But for now, if you don't mind just updating your GCal so we can find that time for all of us to meet. But that's all I have. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
Well, how's it going, everyone? So as the line item states, I am still working with biofaculty. I'm setting up meetings next week, and so hopefully by the next Senate meeting, I'll have more substantial updates for you all. But I also wanted to quickly mention that for the exec team, I finished up a Google Sheet that allows us to log our office hours, and so I am going to work this weekend to finish up one for the senators as well. And so, you know, we will be able to implement this going forward next week. So just stay tuned for that. But that's it for me.
Fantasy?
Hi, thank you. I have a question for Justice.
Yes.
It was about the last thing you talked about.
Marketing committee joining? Or was it about the weekly updates?
I'm sorry, I don't know. I guess I'll contact you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So the first item under new business is discussion of students and faculty letters and demands. I sent out an email with all of the letters and demands, so you all should have read it. And right now is really a discussion for action items that Sen would want to address. Anaya can also give some updates on what exec has been doing for that. But I just wanted to contextualize the discussion as it relates to ASG by talking about some experiences and incidents that has occurred through Senate. So last year, I guess it was 2 years ago, the president and a senator who is also part of the American Indian Student Organization on campus basically were trying to get the name of Sarah Hall changed to Tekawitha Hall. And they met with the Board of Trustees. There were a lot of meetings, and the Board of Trustees basically compromised, saying that we will put Tekawitha's name on it, but we also have to keep St. Sarah's name on it. So somewhat of a concession, but not really. And so that's not why the hall is now known as Saints Kateri and Sarah Hall. And and there's also a statue in front of Sarah Hall that was removed recently by the University of San Diego, and that's what that letter was addressing that you all read the other day. And last year at ASG Senate training, one of the trainings, there was a racist video shown, and there was a lot of discussion around it at that time, and there have been attempted strides to make sure that doesn't happen again. But I just wanted to give those pieces of information just to add some context, and I'm more than willing to expand on them if anyone has any questions. Anaya?
I don't have a question. I just raised my hand to give more context into what ASG is doing, so I can wait if another senator has actual questions about what Maya said.
Ari?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just had a question in regards to what the most recent update is about the statue from the university in terms of now what they're doing.
I'll let Anaya about what exec has been working on, and then if anyone has any questions after that.
Okay. Um, to answer Ari's question before I get into the weeds so I don't forget, because I didn't kind of have that written down, but I believe they said they took it down themselves as a way to like, so it doesn't get defaced. So it's not like a moral standing against what Sarah stood for. It's just protecting our property, I guess, to put it kind of harshly. But anyway, so over the summer, there have been quite a few things that happened. So getting into the letters that you were sent. So the Black faculty wrote a letter. This was all in the wake of like the protests and George Floyd and everything that I'm sure you all know happened. So the letter was essentially just to outline necessary actions for institutional accountability, and their action items focused on reparative measures for the harms that have been endured by Black faculty, students, staff, and basically every Black person at USD. And so the letter included a list of 13 demands that you all saw, just a way for the university to strive forward. So after reading the letter, exec decided that we should meet with authors of this letter to see how we can help, because even though we're not meant to, like our body is designed to represent undergraduate students, faculty is still a very important part of a student's experience at USD. Like that's what you come to college for, is to interact with your professors and learn from them. So if they're not having a great time, then obviously we shouldn't probably be either. So we met with them to decide or to figure out how we can help. And we've only had 1 or 2 meetings so far, so there hasn't been too many concrete plans as far as like what we will do to help them, but a general strategy that we've kind of taken away from all of these meetings, but the first one was the Black faculty, was that we should amplify their messages like to administrators, to board of trustees, because like half of exec meets with the board of trustees, and we constantly meet with administrators, not just exec, but senators too. So we thought anytime we can put their message forward and to hear it from students, because the administrators, they love to hear what students have to say, to be quite honest. They take what we say very seriously. And so if we say it, there's a little more weight there, to be quite honest. So that was kind of a general plan of action we've taken. However, we're going to be meeting with the authors of the Black faculty letter, the authors of the Black student statement again, and the Black Alumni Network, or the president of the Black Alumni Network. That meeting will be happening next Tuesday, so we should be getting more concrete plans to bring to you as far as like what exactly we're doing. And of course, as senators, you all are also more than welcome to like initiate meetings and maybe tag on. But that was the Black faculty letter. And then also during the summer, there was as I kind of alluded to just now, there was a letter written by Black students, just as a collective, undergraduate Black students, talking about our experiences with racism at UST's campus. And it was accompanied by 14 demands that encompassed a lot of different areas of, I guess you could just call student life. And so we met with the authors of that letter. Sorry if my phrasing gets a little weird. One of the authors of that letter, so I was kind of in both roles in that meeting. But we met with the authors of that letter, which 2 of them are actually senators here, so Fantasy and Chidi were also there. And so that was a kind of an introductory meeting where we just decided, like, we met each other, we kind of figured out our goals and how ASG could generally help. But again, we're meeting with them again in the future, and there'll be repeated meetings of ways that ASG can amplify the messages of all of our Black student organizations, so like BSU, ASU, NEDSB, all the other Black student organizations, and how we can, I guess, further our anti-racism work through our student government realm. And then kind of getting back to the first thing Maya talked about with ASO. So ASO released a letter also during the summer. And so we decided to meet with them as well. We've had a few meetings with them, actually, I think the most out of any org. And I think we've produced the most, like, we've helped them, I think, the most so far, just because we've met with them most frequently. We've met with ASO and we put them into contact with the UFMC. They're kind of already in contact with the UF, as is the nature of them being a multicultural org. But we set up a meeting between all 3 of us to figure out how can, like, UF aid ASO in getting their demands met, or just guidance in promoting like Indigenous students on USD's campus. So yeah, that's what's been really going on. I know Mike had put in the chat about Black at USD. This isn't really an ASG thing, but I figured I'll expand on that too. I'm sure most of you have heard of Black at something at some institution, basically talking about the experience of Black students at USD in particular. And it's where Black students kind of share experiences with racism. There was during the summer a like counter page made called White at USD and White at USD 2.0. They're basically just trying to say that like racism isn't really real and all that stuff. The second page kind of turned into neo-Nazi propaganda, to be quite honest. So if you haven't heard about that, that was a thing. So yeah, that's kind of the climate of USD and kind of what ASG exec was balancing and trying to do during this summer. So I'm done with that. If you have any questions, please ask me. I'll try to answer.
Angelo?
Yeah, I was just wondering, did the university ever respond to ASO?
May I speak, Maya?
You may.
Thank you. Yes, I believe they did. I think the letter's floating around somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I don't want to speak for ASO, but I don't think they were the most satisfied with the response, if I'm being quite honest. But again, I don't want to speak for ASO and like their shine or say something that they wouldn't have said, but I don't think they were satisfied with the response. All I can say.
Can I ask a follow-up?
You may.
So was there like explanation given of the statue or anything?
I believe that that's in the response or somewhere around the response is when we learned that it was just taking it down for safekeeping or something. It wasn't like a moral condemnation of Sarah. So I think that was in the response.
Okay. Thank you.
Chidi?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask in regards to some of the responses to the Black faculty letter, specifically the one written by the Dean of the School of Engineering. Was there a reason that his response was written so casually and that he didn't make any sort of, I guess, commitment to change in that school? That was my question, because his response to each of the demands seemed very dismissive and not taken seriously. Or their response, I'm not sure.
I assume that was kind of to me. I assume I can speak, right? So I haven't heard anything specifically regarding the like Dean of Engineering and why their response was so like flippant, I guess, or casual. Maybe academics isn't really my realm, admittedly. So maybe Justin would have more details, but if he doesn't, then I don't really know other than, I mean, we can try out to the dean and figure out what exactly they're trying to do.
Ari?
Thank you. And then just, if I may ask a follow-up question in regards to the Black at USD. Have they been able to find the students with the White at USD accounts, or if there's any action that has been taken towards that? Thank you.
Maya, would you like me to answer that?
You can answer that.
Okay, so we actually just got an update about this at our last exec meeting earlier this week. And from what we've heard, they could not, like their search was inconclusive, if I remember correctly. Like they could not find the person. Apparently they think it was not someone related to USD because the like IP address was outside of the United States or something to that effect. And they said there was a lot of White at insert institution here. So they thought that was all kind of connected. So yeah, I believe that's kind of admin's like general understanding of the situation now, is that it's kind of, the search is inconclusive. from my understanding.
Angela?
So I kind of have two questions now because of what Anaya just told us. I thought I had seen something that the Instagram account was linked to a USD or email address. Like someone had tried to say, oh, I forgot my password. And it's like, oh, it was sent to your @San-Diego email address. And so then it was like the first letter of the email and the last letter of the email and the finite letters in between. So it's kind of just like almost like a combinatorial problem. Like, okay, well, let's look at this list of emails with this letters and narrow down those students. So I don't know how it would not be a USD student if it was with a USD email address. But then also another thing is the response from Dean, I forget their name, from the engineering school. I kind of just want to second what Chitty said because a lot of the claims, I just don't feel like it was taken seriously. And then it was kind of just one of the responses to why there's not more faculty is because of basically, well, there's not a pool of applicants, like it's only 4% and we can't compete with other, like it was just very, like it was a very concerning response to just like even put into words, like, you know, I would be surprised to hear that in a meeting, but I'm like even more shocked that that was like written and articulated and shared as like demonstration of an appropriate response.
Three things. One, Angelo, please don't refer to other senators by name per Robert's Rules of Order. Two, please refrain from putting comments in the chat that aren't sharing resources. And three, Vice President Vasquez, would you like to go?
Wait, what comment in the chat did I share?
Not you, not you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
One in the chat. Also, please wait to be called on if you would like to speak. And then I will allow for Vice President Vasquez to speak because I'm considering her an advisor and not a member of the public right now. So Vice President Vasquez, if you would like to speak, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker Maya. I'm delighted to be with you this afternoon. I'm sorry I couldn't join with you for the entire meeting, but I want to commend and express my gratitude to the ASG Senate for taking up and continuing to take up this important work and dialogue around racial injustice and anti-racism, not only on our campus, but our society and beyond. What I'd like to do is, if I may, Madam Speaker, send you a copy of President Harris's response to the members of the American Indian Student Organization so that those that have not seen it, you could share that with them. And then also Dr. Gail Baker and the academic deans did respond to the Black faculty. You know, it's a pretty thorough letter with a great amount of detail, and it's a beginning of what's happening. It's not the be all end all. I don't want to take time from your meeting right now to read or respond in great detail, but I think the responses that you're talking about are embedded in those documents and would be helpful for the entire Senate to read them and to receive them. And then the question about white at USD. What we learned from that was the Department of Public Safety and Homeland Security did an investigation to see if it was the USD domain and if it had any tracing back to an address on our campus or elsewhere where it would have been an affiliate. There was nothing that concluded of information that we got back that said that it was. But what we did learn is that other institutions, including University of California, San Diego, one of our sister institutions right here in our county, as well as others on the East Coast, were part of the same kind of communications that they were receiving, the hate and the gross acts of hate and intolerance that were communicated in the White at USD. It was really a weekend of ongoing Instagram and activity. And what you said earlier is what we know, in that it has been determined that it could be international and it could be, you know, external to any university, but an attack towards universities. So that's what we know as of right now. But again, I thank you for taking up this work. I think your questions and your discussions are really important around what are the responses as well as what are the demands. And if there's more time given in the future, I think it would be helpful to, if you want to invite Dean Chell Roberts or any of our colleagues that have responded to these letters, to be able to talk more about the institutional response. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Catalina?
I just wanted to ask, like, because like in response to like the dismissiveness from administration to these demands, I was wondering if there was like any plans to like kind of collaborate with Faculty Senate, like ASG and Faculty Senate, because I've talked to a lot of people on Faculty Senate that are people of color, and they feel like administration doesn't listen to them, but they listen to the students. And I kind of feel like the opposite. I feel like they listen more to the faculty than the students, just because in my experience, administrators have been quite dismissive and rude. So I was thinking it might be nice to maybe work together with the Faculty Senate. Maybe that could work. Or no, I guess my question was, is it if there's already any plans in doing that? To Anaya.
Can I answer? Okay.
Yeah.
So actually there's something kind of started last year, and it's a joint task force between University Senate and ASG. You may have heard like Mario mention it last year, like in passing a little bit during her updates. But I don't think we ever really pushed it too hard in Senate because there weren't like many updates to give at that point. But there is a task force, and we're like creating a list of recommendations that I believe should be coming out within, I don't know, a month or so. And it's relating to like diversity related things. So it's relating to like the Black Faculty letter. It's relating to like basically like race, LGBT stuff, and like go on and so forth with, you know, everything diversity, I guess. And so that task force kind of, it already exists. However, once the recommendations are done, it's planning on being like disbanded for the time being. So like we could start a new initiative with the new University Senate chair and the new like group in University Senate. I don't believe there's like official like plans set to work with them right now. Like we've been in conversations with them, but nothing officially has been set, like what you're asking about. So yes and no to your question. Like there are recommendations being sent out and planning to be sent to the university, but as far as like future things, there's nothing, there's not something set right now that would go beyond, I'd say, the end of October.
Chidi?
Yeah, so I had a couple of questions and comments in regards to the faculty and dean's responses, just kind of following up. Will there be continuous and clear updates on the measures that each school is taking? Because not every school committed to quantifiable actions. I wanted to make sure each school and each dean was being held accountable. And then are each of the deans open to working with and taking in criticism and input from students and faculty, specifically Black students and faculty? And in regards to the White at USD account, I do think it is awful that they popped up at UCSD and SDSU. However, the reason why I'm asking about the White at USD account is because I attend USD. So I feel it is really important to not bring up other schools because we're students that represent the University of San Diego. I feel it's more relevant to focus on what's happening on our campus and what affects our students. So I just wanted to make that point.
Vice President Vasquez?
Thank you. I just wanted to share with you two pieces. One is that regarding the ASG and University Senate task force that was working on the recommendations that were just referred to, is going to be forwarding their recommendations to the newly created anti-racism task force. So there's a university-wide anti-racism task force that's going to be created, and those recommendations and members from those groups will also join this new task force. And that was recently announced by our provost, Dr. Gail Baker. So that's important. And then I wanted to also share with you, because you asked about ongoing dialogues with the administration. President Harris, myself, and Provost Baker, we've had at least two, we have them on a monthly basis, meetings with the Black Alumni Network, the Black Employee Network, and BSU. And we are discussing initiatives and ways to collaborate to advance our Black alumni, employee, and students' interest. So I thought it might be important for you to know that that happens on a monthly basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela?
Sorry that my hand was still raised.
No problem. Sean?
Hi. I just had a question about these like initiatives and recommendations, and I'm just curious, like if you know when we can expect to hear back about what these recommendations are and like what these initiatives are from like these monthly meetings.
Anaya, would you like to answer that?
For the recommendations from the Joint Task Force, once they're done, I will ask Maya to put it on the agenda, and I will like present them to you if I can't present them in my updates. Like if there's a lot and they just won't fit, I will happily like present all the recommendations to you. So when they're done, probably again within the next month, that'll be sent to you all. But as far as the monthly meetings, I'm not part of that.
Lauren, did you have a question or like to make a point?
Yeah, going off of what the previous senator said, and also, or yes, would it be possible for us to see minutes from these monthly meetings that are these joint meetings?
Anaya?
So from the joint meetings, to be quite honest, I don't know if there's minutes. It's very like informal. So yeah, sorry about that. But the monthly meetings, again, not me.
Do any other senators have any questions or points they'd like to make? Angelo?
Yeah, so I just want to like ask mainly for clarification. So a thorough investigation concluded that international entities colluded and created Instagram accounts espousing hate across the United States, not one, but two of which were created for USD.
I do not have the answer to that. That's what we've been told as part of exec.
I think it would be helpful if perhaps Chief Miyashiro, our Assistant Vice President for Public Safety, could provide you with the outcome of the investigation.
Thank you. Chidi?
I just had one last question about the comment made about the names of Black faculty, employees, alumni, and I guess Black Student Union. Just questions about which members of Leadership for Black Student Union were involved with these meetings, when they're planned, and if possible, would some members of ASG be able to be included in these meetings?
The meetings are convened and coordinated with both the Alumni Association and the President's Office. So what I can do, if it's a recommendation that the Senate wants to make to have an AS Senator participate, I can bring that forward and we can have both or either of those offices follow up with you.
Alana Bledman.
I would love to be a part of that initiative, first and foremost. Thank you, Carmen. We're definitely always trying to create more bridges for transparency, and I think that would be a good way to start. I think also in lieu of transparency, last year, former speaker Carolina and I sort of had started this public safety advisory board that took place on a monthly basis, and it was us and other students, other leaders, meeting with the chief and gaining a better understanding of how public safety works on our campus, what are the rules and regulations in regard to what public safety can and cannot do. And I think that that was a great way for us to start conversation. And I know that after that, there was a beginning of some amplified trust between students and public safety. I remember there being an increase in reports of what was happening on campus, just an increase in community building. I know that's sort of the policing front that the USD campus has, more like community policing. So especially in response to the students' faculty letter, I believe it was point 4. And there being a board, I'm sorry, I'm getting the doc up right now. I do believe it's number 4.
We've reached our allotted time for this agenda item, so if anyone would like to make a motion to extend the time, they can do so right now. Alana.
I move to extend this discussion time by 10 minutes.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to extend the discussion of students and faculty's letters and demands by 10 minutes. Is there any further discussion? Please cast your votes. Motion passes. We may continue with the discussion. Alana, would you like to continue with your point, or have you finished making it?
I would like to continue, madam.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Specifically, it is to point number 3 on the list of demands from the Black undergraduate students asking for more transparency on public safety protocol. So I think that this is maybe a discussion that I can have with the IDE chair, or perhaps a discussion to bring to the entire floor about solidifying that committee again and having it be ASG centered so that we can have a continual focal point regarding that specific demand, if that made any sense. I didn't put anything on the floor specifically, any motion, but just, yeah, a discussion about how that was a thing that happened last year that potentially could happen again.
Thank you. Lauren, you had your hand raised.
Yes. Going off of what the previous senator was talking about, I think that would be a very great idea for ASG to spearhead right now, especially with kind of all the uncertainty going on with COVID, I feel like it would be a very good point of clarification for both our Senate and for the student body as a whole.
Ezra?
I just want to say that I totally agree, and that's definitely something that we can take under for the Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Committee and larger Senate body as well.
Is there any further discussion? Alana Bloodman?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a question perhaps on if this is also because I don't know nothing, but if this would be the right time to create that sort of, I would hate for us to put something up right now and just not do anything about it. So let's do something about it. Is there potential for me to motion for an ad hoc committee, perhaps specifically for public safety advisory, or how would we go about this? Does a resolution need to be drafted? What steps can we take to make sure that we can get something done immediately?
The parliamentarian can check me on this, but if you want to make a motion right now, you can. Yeah, there's no motions on the floor at the moment, so yeah. Alana.
I have a question of further discussion, if whether or not this would be something that the Inclusion and Diversity committee would take on, or what exactly are who would guess and check, not guess and check, I did this yesterday, checks and balances this initiative? If I can address the chair specifically, even though I don't think I can.
Ezra?
Yeah, so we can definitely, and that can be our first order of business at weekly meetings as soon as we get those scheduled, is to create this committee and the structures in place to make it function. And that's definitely something that can be like top priority and first order of business. And thank you for raising that point. Does that answer your question, kind of?
Catalina?
So can we vote to make it an ad hoc committee, but as a subcommittee to the IDE-DEI committee, like an ad hoc committee, but under the direction of the IDE committee, so that like people can join specifically that public safety advisory board, like, so it's not just IDE committee members, so you can join that public advisory committee and it's still under IDE or DEI, IDE. Oh my God. But can that work, Madam Speaker? Or
I'm going to call on Anaya right now. Anaya's hand is raised.
Yeah, so thank you. It's kind of in response to what was just said. So I just want to like take a step back and think like, we don't need an ad hoc committee for every initiative we want to start. Like, I don't come off too curt, like just being quite honest. If we're gonna say that this work is gonna be done within the IDE committee, then why not just make it an item of like a work item for IDE committee without making a different like ad hoc committee that's basically just a subcommittee of the real committee, and you're basically just asking other senators to come in, when senators can kind of, I don't want to say you can float between committees, but like, let's say I'm on academics committee, I can do that, but I can still also work with IDE committee if I would like, or I can still work with student life. Like, you're just adding more to your plate, but like, if you want that, then you're well within your right. So I don't think you need to make, just my opinion here, this isn't like in the rules that you can't have an ad hoc committee like that. just in my opinion, from prior ASG experience, I don't think you need to make the ad hoc committee. You can just commit to the work. Thank you.
Alana.
Sorry, yeah, that was just I was trying to understand the logistical nature of how this would work out. So I can just go to my committee and just be like, now we're gonna do this. So I ain't gotta say nothing else. Cool. Thank you, Chair of IDE, for your willingness to do this work. I'm excited. It will be due. It will happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion or any questions? Sean?
I just have one quick question. Please forgive me if we've already covered what I'm about to ask. But I know we have a letter from like admin about the Black faculty and like Black student concerns. And I'm also looking at this American Indian Student Organization letter about like Sarah Hall and the statue. And we have all these like questions outlined. Is like, have we had an actual like letter with answers from like the administration yet about these questions?
Anaya?
I don't think so, but I think the short answer is no, unless I'm forgetting something major. So if someone else in the exec or someone else that just knows anything about what admin has been putting out there, please correct me, please, but I don't think so.
Fantasy?
Yes, thank you. So just to, I guess, respond to that question, in the chat, kind of like towards the beginning, Sabrina put the link to ASO posting a response or like the president's response. It doesn't look like it's outlined in like the question answer form that like they ASO posted, you know, like each question, they're not responding individually to each of them, but it looks like that's the response that was received. So they did ask people on Instagram, like if they want to share their thoughts or just like kind of grapple with the response that they got. But I don't think there's anything else from there.
Are there any other questions, comments, concerns? Because if not, we will move on to the next item on the agenda. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a presentation from Catalina on an ad hoc civic engagement committee. So you can share your screen.
Y'all see that? Okay. Actually, I'm gonna expand y'all because I want to see everyone. I don't know how to do like a smooth transition from what we just talked about. I'm glad we had that discussion, and I love Alana's idea. I think that's very beautiful, and I'm just gonna present something that's also beautiful, I think. Okay, this is what?
A quick reminder: you cannot address another senator.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, then strike that from the record. Nothing happened. Okay, this is basically like the ad hoc committee proposal that I had for the Civic Engagement Voter Empowerment Committee. Basically just a background. I know we talked about this in training, but ad hoc committees, they're temporary and they're meant to serve a specific student need or focus on a particular issue. And that's exactly what this committee would do. I think it's especially timely with the upcoming elections and stuff. And then it would just be through the fall semester and focus on student needs around civic engagement and voting. And also this is very, very loose, very flowy, very empty, very sparse. It's a draft. Of course, I didn't want to put too much work in it, and then, you know, y'all voted down, and then I wasted hours. So I just did like what I think is like the main things. that y'all will need to know. The first thing I wanted to address, because I know that this is like a big concern with a lot of people, was the similarity, the fact that we already have a TBB committee. So I just wanted to start with that, get that out of the way. So I wanted to start with similarities and differences. The TBB, it's a voter registration committee. I really wanted to make that distinction. It's a lot more narrow scope than what we're proposing here at ASG. Voter registration, you have to be a citizen, you have to be eligible to vote, and it's not like a bad scope, it's just a narrow one. We focus a lot on educational events, panels. They're doing a social media campaign next week. I hope you all participate. It looks awesome. And also, TBB is the programming branch, so they naturally have a different approach to voter registration or civic engagement. So anything we do would just be different because it's different. We're different branches. Yeah, basically the TBB committee is focused on voter registration. That's great. That's amazing. That's beautiful. And right here, I just wanted to really emphasize that committee is amazing. They're doing great work. I met with them yesterday. This isn't to like step on their toes or do exactly what they're doing or try to do it better or try to do it different. Like they're a great committee on their own, and I think that we need our own committee to focus on on a similar mission but different ways of getting there. This, can y'all see when I highlight? I think you can. This is basically what they have planned. As you can see, it's like educational, informational stuff. That's great. That's awesome. We should definitely be doing that. But TBB is doing that, so we're not doing that. The proposed ASG committee, though, it would have a more expansive scope. It wouldn't be limited to just voting or registration or citizenship. So it would be more inclusive to all USD students. The way I see it kind of going is that it would be more focused on like coordination of Senate initiatives. It'd be a space of concentrated efforts between senators to work on civic engagement, all that stuff. And it would be a lot more about collaboration and ideas to work together on. It wouldn't be necessarily events or panels. Of course, it could be. I'm not the whole committee, hopefully, you know, so it could definitely go however y'all want to envision it. But it would be a committee within Senate. So we'd be focusing on things that we could do within Senate, you know, like it would be centered on like things that we can do as senators. So like I had some examples, resolutions, funding for stuff, initiatives, and other stuff. And then of course, other non-senators will be very welcome to contribute, but it'd be centered in like what Senate can do. And then I'll talk a little bit more about like initial plans and ideas. They're generally more longer term, more than just like an event for this upcoming election. It'd be more like trying to get stuff changed for the future. So there you go. Similar mission, different approach, different branches. We're doing different things, but definitely parallel. We're trying to kind of get to the same goal here. I'll talk. This is very sparse, right? This is just a little collection that I had. I talked to the 8 of y'all that expressed interest, and you know, we could definitely do more, but this is just a starting point. So you can see like we're not doing the same thing as TBB. This is some of the things that we were thinking about. These ideas are very fluid. They're very not thought out. So these are just initial ideas. So don't get scared or don't get excited because they might change. And then also I know there was like hesitancy about it because you know you didn't want it to like overlap or be repetitive with the TBB committee. So again, our plans are very different. So there's really no risk of repetition or overlap. They're different. But I think the TBB chair, Lupe, is here. She already started this awesome email chain. We can already keep ourselves like up to date and see what everyone's up to. And then I met with the committee, the TBB voter registration committee last night. So we already have like an established flow of communication here. So like if we do run into any trouble, we can, it's just as easy as an email. And then we can collaborate and help each other on stuff if that's needed. And then I also asked them their thoughts on it. So this isn't coming out of nowhere for them. We're not trying to like override what they're doing. You know, ASG and TBB, we're like sisters. You know, we're working together on this. We're not, like I said, it's different, but we are working together in this. That's pretty much it. That's all I really had to say. What are y'all thinking? Do y'all want to vote on this? Y'all want to vote yes on this?
Alana, Latore. I'm just a little bit confused exactly what the difference is between USD votes and I guess also the TVB voter registration committee and then now this ad hoc committee.
Well, USD Votes is a student organization and they do stuff on their own. And like I said, the TVB committee, they're focused on voter registration and that's more informational events. The ASG committee would be more focused on like what you can do in ASG. So like I said right there with resolutions and Senate initiatives, things in ASG. So it is different. Does that help at all? Should I go more in depth?
Alana, did that answer your question? I think so. Thank you.
No, it's okay. If you have any follow-up, let me know. I can go in depth here.
Why don't you go in depth, Catalina, just so everybody understands?
I guess I'll start a little bit with our initiatives. I'm sure you can figure out who came up with the election day off thing. I'm trying to get all the days off from school eventually. That would be a resolution. That would be a resolution through Senate, and then the USD voter tool. That was one of the initiatives that another senator had. It was basically like trying to get funding for it would be a voter tool. It'd be like a software that we could put up on USD's website, and it would work for USD students wherever they are in the country to kind of walk them through the entire process of getting a ballot, but it costs money, so that's why it would be a Senate initiative, and that would be something that this committee would work on potentially. The postcards thing, that's more of like a smaller goal. That was a really cute idea someone had about like sending postcards to all USC students, reminding them to vote and giving them reasons on why their vote matters. And then this last one, that wasn't my idea, but just from what I got from that generally, it was basically trying to get an initiative started. We're kind of how UCSD, they have a requirement for all first year students to register to vote. If you're eligible to vote, they would just automatically register you to vote. And that was just trying to get something like that started here. So USD Votes is not going to do that. TBB, they're doing more things like events for this upcoming election. But as you can see, these goals would be more lasting. Not better. Not saying it's better. I'm just saying it's different and it would last more. Does that help? Is that good? Okay. I see a lot of nodding heads.
Question. Madeline, your hand was raised earlier, so I just wanted to see if you still had a question.
My question was answered. Thank you.
Yay. Okay, yay. Y'all have anything else? Any reservations at all?
Fantasy?
Hi, yes, thank you. I have two questions. How long would you see this committee going for? Like, is it, I don't know, like logistically how long they stay in place, but is it for the semester, is it for the year, is it for, indefinitely? And as well, I guess, I obviously love the intention and thank you for being so passionate, Catalina. I definitely do, as a former student org chair, committee chair, it's our intention to make sure that there's not doubling up and there's not, I guess, a lot of people working on different things when we could more or less come together, right? And I think hopefully that's where Alana's intentions were coming to as well. Sorry, I'm not referring to anyone. So anyway, what's the benefit, I guess, do you think, in having it being like a set, solid committee rather than, I guess, just, like a group of senators getting together and creating this initiative? Just because I know that not all the time senators come up with like committees to create the initiatives.
Yeah.
It might give us, more time and structure, but like, are you like, is there going to be an advisor? Is that like the incentive of making it a committee, or what's, why would it need that title?
Okay, well, I'll do the easy question first. Ideally, it would be through the fall semester. I don't know, just a start. And then, okay, I'm going to try to synthesize the question. It was like, what are the benefits of having it as a real committee, right? Is that, I see people nodding, I'm going to go with it. Okay, well, I think it would be more effective as a real committee, because right now it is just, I think 8 of y'all that I like personally reached out to, and that's great. But I think having more structure and having like a real substantive group that you can just join without knowing me, without being my friend, I think that would be good. I think that would make it more so if you have an idea to contribute, you can just do it without having to go through me or having, someone to get in. And then also, just because a lot of centers, we already had these plans coming in. So it's just like, it makes sense to just get together and do it. And then also, I know there was some like ideas, like maybe you could just join the TPB committee, and they're great. They're doing great. I would love to join their committee, but I just think it would make a lot more sense to have one within Senate, because then we could coordinate with TPP a lot more efficiently rather than just being like me showing up to their meetings and harassing them. Like I don't know. I think this would work really well, and I like the idea. I don't think it'd have to be as structured as having an advisor. I don't think we'd have to go that far. I don't know if that's like a rule, but I think it being an ad hoc committee, I think it'd work best if it was more casual, but it's still a way that it is like a concentrated effort in one group instead of just people pulling out initiatives here and there. And also with this, I didn't really work too much on the structure, but it would be more like so that we're making sure that these ideas actually become something, and so that you have kind of somewhere to brainstorm and work together on stuff. Because like I said, those ideas, we haven't really worked on them too much. They're just things we said, but in more of a committee structure, we could actually work them out and be like, yeah, that's not gonna work. That's not really good. Things like that. Did you like that answer? Should I say something more?
Angelo?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think the intention of mandating voter registration might be good, but
okay.
I think that on campus for students who can't vote, or who are undocumented or not citizen, or from other, like they just don't have the vote if they're on parole for a felony. So I think for those students who can, I think it might be, I don't know, I just don't think it would be the best idea to require everyone to be registered to vote.
It would just apply to people that are eligible to be registered to vote, so.
But then what would the process be if you're not eligible? Like, do you have to prove it? Do you have to submit documentation that you're not eligible? Like, how would we know? How would we track that? How would we do those types of things?
This is the perfect reason why we need a committee, because these are just ideas, and like I said, we didn't like go through and look at them perfectly. They're just ideas, and a committee is somewhere where we could discuss that way further, because I think those are very valid points, but we should have a committee to discuss them with. How you feel about that?
Anaya?
So I'm not trying to influence how you should vote, whether to make or to not make this ad hoc committee, but for it seems like the reason that we're saying that we should make the committee is because working with USD vote, as opposed to working with USD votes, is because ASG has more it seems like more backing and more authority behind our name. So us we're just two separate things. But this kind of over the summer, specifically me, Justice, and Joey have been working with USD votes. So there's been that unity with the two groups as far as ASG and USD votes, and us supporting them in any way we can, and also working with them to create more initiatives, because they're a very willing and open group. They want to do as much as they can, but at some point you're kind of limited by the number of people you have and the amount of money you have. So we're helping financially back them, and we're in certain things, and we're doing stuff like that. So I think the group of 8 or 9 senators that you're working with, it wouldn't be unrealistic for you all to just start working with USD votes, and you're still able to use the Senate Initiatives Fund. You're still able to use, I have a civic engagement fund for this year that we're helping spend some money with USD votes. So things like that. It's possible to just work with USD votes instead of making one big group, just to say that you don't need the ad hoc committee, not to say that you shouldn't have it or anything, but just as perspective.
Reached our allotted time for this agenda item. If you would like to extend the time, you can make a motion to do so now. Alana Bledman.
I move to extend the discussion time by 5 minutes.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor having been seconded to extend the allotted time period for this discussion on the Ad hoc Civic Engagement Committee by 5 minutes. Is there any further discussion? You can cast your votes. Motion passes. You can continue with the discussion.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. To that, I think it's great the ASG exec is working with USD votes, but I think it would be nice if it was opened up to all the senators. And of course, the 8 of us could just join that committee, and I can just join, we can just join all these committees to like kind of give our opinion there. But I don't know, even meeting with the TVB committee yesterday, I felt bad because they've been working on this for a long time, and I know they're very open to senators just showing up and giving their opinion, but they've already been working on things. They already have their own things going. And I feel like if we don't have our own centralized group and we just kind of join them like as we want, I feel like it's just not good to just be joining them like that, because they have their own committee. They have their own group. They're already working on initiatives. So for us to just join it, especially 8 of us, like I just feel like it would be good to have something within ASG where like we're already working on those things. Of course, collaboration is great, but not to overstep on anybody. That's my view on it. Do you have anything to say back, Anaya? Or I don't think I can decide that.
May I speak, Madam Speaker? Okay. No, I don't have anything. I just think that, like, to be quite like honest, like this isn't like a formal committee. Like Joey Justice and I aren't like exclusively like trying to be like, this is our civic engagement committee and you have to ask us if you can join it and all that stuff. Like it's not an exclusive thing. So like it's really just like a group of students working with USD votes, and we just happen to be an ASG, so we're using our backing in that way. So, and it's not close to senators. Like we're very open to senators joining us. We were just waiting for you all to be elected and for us to schedule our next meeting so we can invite you all.
Okay, sounds good.
Lupe?
Thank you. I would just like to know that in regards to the TVB committee, after this week, so starting the last day that this committee will kind of be formed is October 2nd, so that it won't necessarily be long term. So I just thought that should be addressed to help keep into consideration.
Thank you, Sabrina.
I just had a point of clarification, a question. So you're also a civic engagement. So obviously the elections end in November. So for like the rest of the duration of the semester, even though I know we're on break, would you just be giving different information about like civic engagement for like different protests or different like know your rights about this or that? Like what because I know the USD votes is just voting and that's kind of where, it ends. So I was just wondering if then you're going to go into something else specific engagement or if voting was your main intention.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for the question. That's kind of exactly the purpose. Of course, everything's very focused on voting, which is great, but some of us aren't able to vote and we still want to be engaged. So that's why civic engagement is like kind of the biggest part of it, because it should go beyond voting and there's other ways to be involved where you don't have to be a citizen. So I feel like I'm missing part of that question, but basically my answer is exactly. It will definitely go on. I think, of course, the focus is on voting because that's like the most like big upcoming thing, but it should definitely go beyond that, which is, I think one on here, some that, this is inconclusive list. It's just what I gathered for y'all to have a little sampling. But there's of course things on here where we want to have kind of like an intentional targeting, like going intentionally with students that, I mean, I don't know how to be able to find them, but doing programming that's like specifically for students that aren't able to vote, or that they're international students, or just providing opportunities that don't require voting. But voting is also important. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Ben?
I have a sort of general question about the committee, but also the scope of USC votes and other committees on the subject. Is there any engagement with the community outside the university, like local sort of ways to get people, so like sort of help those who live near the campus also get registered to vote, like a sort of greater community project? Is that, I don't know how much engagement the university actually has in that.
Well, I don't know about USD vote, but that's one of the.
Sorry, we've reached the limit of the minute time. But if you would like to further extend the time with a motion, you can do so.
Ari, is this a motion?
Oh, sorry, I had a question, but we finished time. So I will ask after.
Okay. Ben, is this a motion?
Yes, I move to extend the time of discussion on this topic for another 5 minutes.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor, have been seconded to extend the time period by 5 minutes for this discussion. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Motion passes. Ben, were you asking the question? No.
I had finished my question. Thank you, madam.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, Ben. Or no, I can't do that. I'm glad that that was brought up. I think that's definitely important. I guess that's like a perfect thing that this committee could definitely handle. And just two things on here that we already had kind of proposed was the USD voter tool. It would basically just, it would be like, it wouldn't be just for people at USD. It could definitely be shared within the community because it has very important voter information. It could really walk anyone through the process of voting. You don't have to be in San Diego. You don't have to be a USD student, but it would just be provided by USD, you know, like money wise. And then of course the postcards that could definitely be switched around. These are very fluid ideas. That could definitely be like maybe USD students writing postcards to like people in the community, like older people, you know, just people, I don't know, like older people, you know, like finding categories of people that we want to like be like, hey, I'm a student, voting is really important. Or people who are unable to vote, like, hey, I'm unable to vote, you're able to vote, I checked your voter record, you should really vote. You know, doing things like that, you know, like peer pressure that really works. I think that's very important, doing community stuff. And that's something that could definitely be tackled by this committee. Did that answer your question?
Ari?
Just in regards to the previous statement, going off of that, the beauty of San Diego is there's so many nonprofits, especially in the area where USD is. Linda Vista is one of them. You could also try to work with the Mulvaney Center. I'm sure that they would be glad to have someone or an advisor to be on the Civic Engagement Committee. You know, that would be great. Possibly contacting the ACLU within San Diego and see how you can make initiatives for undocumented students who want to get involved, maybe help connect students with internships. Like, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
Maybe create a newsletter, like a massive newsletter that you can send out to students in regards as to what opportunities there are, like within like within like a 10-minute drive or what protests are going on. So yeah, I say this is a great idea. I feel like with it being so new and so fluid, you can really create it in any way you want and get creative with it. And when it comes to civic engagement, there are so many things. Like it's very versatile. You know, yeah, you could. I'm not sure what exactly the rules are with the promotion of protests or what students can do to get involved, or yeah, I say it's pretty good. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. We should definitely connect. We already connected, but we should connect about that. Even if this fails or passes, those are awesome ideas.
Alana?
Yeah, I know you. Oh.
So sorry.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that you talked to the TPE committee about it, but have you talked to USD Votes, anyone off of USD Votes about it, just to see if there's any like overlap with any of, especially like the voter registration like events that you have planned? Because I think they are really good events, but just seeing if there's any overlap and if USD Votes would even be like interested in like our help.
To emphasize, we don't have any information event. These up here, these are TPB's events. We don't have like voter information events. Like I said, the reason why we won't overlap with any other committee is because we're doing specifically things that can be done in Senate. Like I said, that's like funding, that's like resolutions, that's Senate initiatives. So there's no way we would overlap with USD Votes or TPB. But I haven't reached out to USD Votes, but like, I don't know. That's my answer on that. Like we're definitely different, definitely similar goals, but like I said, like I really don't see any overlap because we would be a Senate committee focusing on what Senate can do. Does that make sense? Should I elaborate?
I would like to remind the senators that in order to speak, you have to be addressed by me first. So
Okay.
Catalina, when somebody asks a question for a point of clarification, you have to wait for me to address you first.
Okay.
Lauren, I saw your hand raised before.
Yes, I was gonna see if I could move to call the question if there was no further debate or objections.
You can do so. I believe Fantasy's hand is raised, so I'll let her speak first. Parliamentarian, can you check me on that?
Sorry, I was actually just going to say that we've reached a lot of time for this agenda item.
Okay, so someone can make a motion to extend the discussion if they feel that's necessary. You can move to call to order like Lauren did. So you can make a vote to table indefinitely, to table to next meeting, to approve the ad hoc committee, or there doesn't have to be a vote at all. If there's no motion, then there's nothing to vote on, and we'll just move on to the next item on the agenda. Lauren?
I move to call the question, or wait, I move to approve the creation of the ad hoc committee. Is that correct?
You can make that motion, yes.
I second that.
There is a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve the ad hoc committee for civic engagement. Is there any further discussion? Fantasy.
Yeah, I was going to basically, I don't want to like amend it necessarily, but if Catalina or anyone who's going to be a part of it, if it passes, definitely I would encourage y'all to get in touch with USD Votes, just because like I get that we have a little bit more of the agency to make the initiatives, right? But we still want to be like serving the folks who are already doing things on the ground, doing the work, especially students who don't have like the voice or the privilege of being in ASG. So I know that even it might be like very different, but also y'all have similar intentions. So I think that we should still be collaborating as much as possible with students. And from my understanding, the committee would still be open to the student body, not just senators. So just wanted to let y'all know, like, yeah, if this does get passed, please like talk to as many folks who are doing the work as possible, so then we can continue to work on the same page and not like we said, you know, overlap or have so many committees doing the same work.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Catalina?
I agree with what Fantasy said.
No, you cannot address somebody by name.
Oh! Okay. I agree with what was just, I think it's important. Oh no, I'll just say, oh yeah, I think it's definitely important. That's why I even wanted to do the committee, just so that it would be open to non-ASG people, but it would be using like ASG resources. That's exactly what I was trying to do. It's open to everyone, and I do think it's important to do like intentional collaboration stuff. I didn't want to reach out to USD Votes because I didn't think this thing was, I didn't know if it was gonna get passed, and I didn't want to be like, like I met with the TVP committee because we were going to talk about like their beautiful events planned for next week. So it just happened. I didn't exclude USD Votes on purpose. I thought I was just going to wait till, if this thing gets passed, then yes, would love to collaborate with them. That's it.
Is there any further discussion? Ari?
Just another thing that I could mention, I think what also would set you, like, what else you could do, especially within the undocumented community. I know that people are not allowed to come campaign at USD, but you could list like, you can make a list of the variety of campaigns that students are able to get involved to, which would allow undocumented students to become involved as well. So kind of help, just mention like a list of, what campaigns are in the San Diego community, what, I mean, there's a lot of ways to get involved. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Brooke?
So I just wanted to clarify a little bit about like what USD Votes does, because I feel like there's kind of a lot of overlap right now. But USD Votes is basically trying to increase voter turnout and civic engagement within our campus, because we've had statistics that it's like abysmally low. So what USD does is create educational resources and inform not only the student community, but the greater community about how to register to vote, how to get your ballot to vote, and just like generally those resources, and those are accessible to everybody. We have the website, we have the Instagram campaign, and all of those things are basically just free and accessible resources with step-by-step voting in every single state and all the counties everywhere, on how to vote. And like, I just wanted to say that we were a resource for all of that, and that we're open for questions. You can always DM the Instagram. You can always email USD Votes, and we have weekly meetings with the general body. So I just felt like I needed to clarify like what USD Votes specifically does, and that Senate has been, or I guess ASG exec has been helping us with a lot of promotion of events and everything this whole semester, especially with National Voter Registration Day, which was on the 22nd.
Thank you, Brooke. Is there any further discussion? If not, we will continue with the vote. Okay, so the current motion on the floor is to move to approve the creation of the Ad Hoc Civic Engagement Committee. So if you vote yes, you're voting to create this ad hoc committee. If you vote no, you're voting to not create it. And if you abstain, your vote basically is counted as if you were absent. So if there's no further discussion, please cast your votes. Please leave your votes up. Motion fails. And that's that. So that brings us to the final business and hearing of the public. At this time, any senator may take from the table any motion previously laid on the table in the meeting the week before or present urgent business. Any member of the public may voice any concerns to the assembly on non-agenda items. Anaya?
So I just wanted to get like quick feedback on, or get your thoughts on like the speaker selection that we had like a week and a half ago. So that was a brand new thing. We've never done it before. So this was all kind of just like, we're trying to all figure it out. And I think it went pretty well, but may I ask, like, did you all believe that it went well enough? Or do you think that off the top of your mind, that we could have improved in any way or should have changed it in any way? Of course, you can always come to think of something later, but just wanted to get an idea now if you had any thoughts. There's a lot of hands raised, but I don't know if they're for the speaker selection or just questions.
Catalina, is your feedback about this?
Yes, it is. I actually really liked it. I think it's a lot better to pick like a speaker from the pool of senators. We had a great speaker last year for sure, but I mean like I just liked that. That was like a good thing symbolically, you know, because you get elected a senator and then you're chosen by the other senators to be the speaker. And I love that. I think that was great. And we got a great one.
AJ, is this feedback?
No, ma'am.
Does anyone else have any feedback?
If I may just interject, if you do have feedback, like later, please feel free to email me. But if not, then you'll be seeing the process that I emailed you in the Senate bylaws when I present them to you.
I'm going off the stack that I have written down. Fantasy, your hand was raised next.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of things. I remembered just this, what I was gonna say. So as for like sharing calendars, because I know I had to do this with Isaiah as well. I base my life off Google Calendar, but I also do have two emails, so like my school email, my personal email. So sometimes when I share my student email, it doesn't reflect like the events that I have on also my personal email. Should I send both of those, or should I just try to compile them to my San Diego like calendar? Because I could just like convert it to one, but I sometimes just use both interchangeably, and I wouldn't want something to be like planned when they don't see my other calendar.
Madam Speaker, may I respond?
You may.
Thank you. Yeah, whatever is honestly easier for you. You can send me both calendars and I'll look at that. That's totally fine. Or you can just message me, email me, like saying what you're exactly wanting to share with me. But both calendars is totally fine with me. I don't know about like in general when we have to share your calendars with Isaiah, but for me, for marketing committee, you can just send both calendars and that's fine.
Okay, I had two more, like
Two more questions for Justice or
suggestions a little bit, I guess. Statements.
Go ahead.
Okay, so one is if we could get closed captioning for our Zoom meetings for Senate. I know that like through Zoom, it's either like can be done through a third party or like a live closed captioner. I just think it'd be really accessible and good for people who need it or folks who don't need it. I know I like to utilize it. And then also, I don't know, correct me, like I don't know if I heard this before, but are we gonna have food for Senate meetings, or is that still in the works, or is that not possible?
I don't know about that. Do any of the advisors have more information?
I believe that we ended up removing the funding for food at Senate meetings, but that could be something if you all want to, as part of like the reallocation, Madam Speaker, that you could always put in for that.
Fantasy, were those all the points you had to make?
Yes, thank you.
Selena?
Hi, I'm with the USD Vista, and I just wanted to voice a couple of things. You guys, your guys' link in your Instagram bio still doesn't work. I tried to join it today, and it wasn't working, and I had to get the link sent privately, and the same thing happened last week, and you guys were aware of that last week, so I just hope you can fix that soon, because that makes it very hard, if not impossible, for any members of the public to join the meeting. Also, we were told last Thursday that the budget for the 2020-21 school year would be uploaded on your website no later than today. And I checked and it has not been uploaded. And then also the 2019-2020 budget on your website is not a working document. So I just wanted to bring those things up and hope that you can address those issues soon.
Thank you. Linnea?
Yes, hi. My name is Linnea, and I just wanted to speak really fast. I am the president of USD Votes this year. I was also the president last year. And because I know our organization was kind of mentioned here and there throughout the meeting, I just thought I'd pop in to give a little statement or two. I would first like to very much thank Joey and Anaya and Justice, who have been, they actually reached out to us saying that they wanted to help our organization. They wanted to help boost USD's very low voter turnout rate. USD Votes really appreciates when we have organizations that will reach out to us with an interest in collaborating. You know, not just coming to us saying like, we want to post this, do you think it's okay? But rather, you know, what have you been planning? How can we help? And that was exactly how this exec team reached out to us. So we really appreciated that support, and we've benefited from it greatly. And I think our turnout numbers will benefit from it greatly. I also would just like to say that, again, you know, part of the discussion that was happening earlier was about this committee potentially being open to everybody, not just certain exec members. And I would like to reiterate that USD Votes is open to absolutely anybody, whether they be senator or not. We would love to have as many volunteers as possible. And if they happen to be senators and they happen to have this tie to, you know, Senate resources and stuff, that's only cherry on top, you know? So if, you know, because this committee did not pass, if there are any senators in the room who would like to join our club, our doors are wide open. We still have a lot of work to do, and we would love any opportunity that people have to kind of work with us. We have professors that are poli-sci experts, and they help to generate the content that we put out. So it's not just, you know, random students, but it's actually like political scientists who are putting out correct information and disseminating that to the entire student body. I think that's a really important part of our org as well. So I think we have the nuts and bolts of a really effective organization here. And if anything, the only thing that we are looking for is further institutional support. So I just thought I would make that known and say again, thank you to ASG for helping us, especially on National Voter Registration Day. It's been massively helpful.
Thank you. AJ?
Madam Speaker, I move to adjourn.
Seconded.
There is a motion on the floor having been seconded to adjourn today's meeting. Is there any further discussion? Fantasy?
Thank you. Yeah, that might have been a little abrupt. I saw some more hands, so I just want to make sure folks get the time. And like being previously in Senate, I know that these things can go a little longer than expected, and I have class in 5 minutes, so I get if y'all have class, I would encourage y'all to use the point of privilege to leave if you need to, but maybe if we can have, I just want to make sure the public, the hearing of the public is given their respected time, since we did kind of go over with some other items on the agenda. So, I mean, I wouldn't urge you to vote no, but I would just think be mindful of like the folks who still want to speak. But if you have to go, point of privilege, dip out. All I can say.
We've just reached our allotted time for this agenda item, but if anyone does want to extend, they can make a motion.
There's a current motion on the floor to adjourn today's meeting. So we'll take the vote now. So please cast your votes. Motion fails. Is there a motion to extend the time? Fantasy?
I move to extend the time by 10 minutes.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor having been seconded to extend the allotted time for hearing of the public by 10 minutes. Is there any further discussion? Please cast your votes. Motion passes. Alana, your hand was raised. Udman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to encourage the floor to not lose sight of the conversations that's happening around the letters that are happening on campus. I would also like to remind the floor of Carmen's plan to perhaps bring in someone from the Senate floor to join these meetings and these discussions that are happening with Black faculty and Black administrators. So I urge you all to continue doing the research and looking into the intricacies of each and every letter that was in response. I know that one of the links that we were sent, embedded in that link is a multitude of different letters. So I know today's discussion was very centered just around the fact that discussions are being had. And I want us to not lose sight of gathering information and looking at each and every one of those demands and seeing what can and cannot be done with them. So I hope that we understand that this discussion will be concurrent and should not have an end.
Thank you, Alana. As a reminder, if a senator does need to leave, you have to raise your hand, be acknowledged by the speaker, and then raise to a question or point of privilege, and then you can leave. Lauren?
Point of personal privilege, may I be excused?
Yes. Ben?
Point of personal privilege, may I be excused?
Yeah. Sabrina?
Point of personal privilege, may I please be excused?
Yeah. At some point, we will lose quorum and the meeting will end automatically, just so you know. Angelo?
Point of privilege, I have class.
Go ahead. Elena?
Point of personal privilege, may I be excused?
Yes. Harrison?
Point of privilege, I have class. May I be excused?
Yes. Does anyone else want to speak today during hearing of the public? Alana?
I move to adjourn today's meeting.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor having been seconded to adjourn today's meeting. Is there any further discussion? Please cast your votes. Motion passes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.